and welcome to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, the owner of Meraki Media Management. The End in Mind is a place where we come to share stories, tips, and strategies of many entrepreneurs, creatives, business owners, and just some people that aren't willing to live the traditional lifestyle. We talk about how to live outside of the box today and how to incorporate what really is important in your life to keep that end goal always in mind. Again, if you would like to reach out to me in any type of way, you can find me on Instagram at Meraki_media_management, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Thanks so much and enjoy our show. What is up, party people? Welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I hope you guys are having a great day. I just wanted to start off by asking you all if you could do me a solid. I am really trying to get some more podcast reviews. We are actually currently running a little giveaway. If you want to get on our newsletter list, I will leave the link for that in our show notes. We share tons of monthly updates on Instagram, what's going on the platform. We talk about mental health in the newsletter, what to expect from Instagram, things that are going on in our business, how we're expanding, certain types of services that we're launching. So it's just a great resource. And getting back to the little giveaway that we launched through the newsletter this month, it's all about leaving us reviews. So if you leave us a Apple Podcast or a Spotify review, send me a screenshot on Instagram and I will add your Instagram handle to a little pool, and we are going to end up giving a gift card for a local mom and pop coffee shop. So this is something we've been launching for a while and we just haven't gotten that many reviews. So this month we will absolutely be picking it. My pick date for the winner, which will be obviously randomly generated, is going to be on the 31st. So I will be picking our podcast review winner that day and sharing on IG. So I hope you guys definitely take a few minutes to do that. It honestly only takes 30 seconds. And even if you just write something like, "Love this show," it does me a solid. Without those reviews, it's really hard for our show to reach more people organically. So really would just appreciate that if you guys have a few minutes this morning. And let's get into today's topic, because if you are here, you have probably been following along on Instagram, unless you have just found our show through lovely Apple or Spotify. Either way, welcome to my community. Welcome to the Meraki Media community. We talk about very unconventional things that many people don't talk about in the traditional lifestyle. So we are all about how to live life differently and in your authentic self, rather than conforming to negative thoughts or societal beliefs that have been put on us for so many centuries, especially as women. Men as well experience this. I do not want to take that away from men or women. We all have our own ancestral, pass downs and quote unquote baggage, as some people might say. But the more we become aware, the easier it is to develop a business. And so many people in this entrepreneur space do not talk about their holistic journey until they're about sometimes 5-10 years into starting a business. And I kind of did the opposite. And the reason why was because I've always known that money would not bring me happiness. That's something that my mom actually instilled in me from a very, very young age. It's something we constantly talked about, especially because when I was younger, we did not have a lot of money. My parents really struggled financially, and a lot of people could have said, that affected me negatively, but I like to look at it in a way that even if, God forbid, we lost everything tomorrow, right? Knock on wood. I'm like superstitious Italian over here, which, would never happen. but I have been there before, so I know what that feels like, right? And I also know how to be adaptable to a lifestyle that may have ebbs and flows. And as being an entrepreneur, truly, that's a really important skill, because as you're launching your business, things change quickly. And I'm very fortunate to have a lot of people that support me and different types of multiple streams of income set up. So I am secure. But of course, there's always a fear, right? Especially when you come from that type of childhood where maybe you didn't have everything, right? Like my parents, they both worked very intense jobs and they weren't really happy in their jobs. And to be honest, they weren't paid nearly as much as they should have been. And my childhood, much of it was through a recession, right? So I lived through a time where, people were foreclosing on homes. There was a huge dip in the stock market. People were in a pretty bad place, and the reason why I'm sharing this before we get into content is because I used to have this belief that my life wasn't lavish enough. It wasn't good enough to share online. It wasn't the level of fun social influencers flying out to Bali and drinking mimosas on the beach. And I wasn't doing that, right? I was very fortunate after I graduated college that I was able to travel across Europe with my boyfriend. And we just financially made it work, you guys. We both quit our jobs, so there was no income coming in. I am, in a position where I've shared this on the podcast before, where I have multiple streams of income, so we were able to make it work. But it was a significant investment, and it was scary making that investment. But looking back on it, I am so happy that we did that when we could, So the reason why I share this background of coming from this lack, mentality or mindset was because that's how I was raised. I was raised eating macaroni and cheese for dinner because there was literally nothing else that we could afford. We had a lot of pasta in my house because it was cheap and it worked, So coming from that mindset makes you think, okay, well, people on social media have these beautiful lives. They have this pristine home. It's always clean. They drive these luxury cars. They fly across the world, blah, 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 blah. And I absolutely hated that. Even when I finished at my first job before we had gone to Europe, one of the things that was kind of holding me back was what if I live this lifestyle and it's something that I don't ever want to leave? And what's so funny is my intuition was actually guiding me towards that, because now we do live a European lifestyle. I run my own business. Sean has a sales job, so his schedule is, not flexible, but let's just say can be flexible on certain days, right? I have the freedom of being able to work from anywhere. So does Sean. Now we live with that type of mentality of we don't want to be put in a box, into that old traditional lifestyle. And when we were traveling, that was something that we picked up on along the way. So many people across the world live such different lifestyles than the average American. When I started to see all of these wonderful people and learning from them, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs, it really just started to click for me. This is what I am supposed to be doing. I'm feeling called to this, but I still have this belief that my life isn't lavish enough. Even traveling across Europe, I have all these beautiful photos. I still didn't feel like it was enough. It was never going to be enough. Who would want to see, literally these are the thoughts that go through my brain. Who the hell would want to see my mom's basement as I'm recording my first few videos? That's where Sean and I lived when we started this business. We lived out of my mom's house, and we literally lived in the basement, basically. Shout out to my stepdad, who literally set that shit up so nice for us. But who the hell would want to see that? I'm comparing myself to all of these other entrepreneurs. I was very fortunate to work with a few entrepreneurs that are very successful in this space when I was in college. And it was just what the hell? Like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna create content around when I'm constantly consuming this lavish lifestyle bullshit, literally? Because you guys, like, of course now there's so many amazing people that travel for a living, and I don't want you to think that I'm talking shit on them, because I look up to them for being able to make that happen, right? For their lives and setting it up for their children. And that's something I look up to. It's these people that, pre-COVID were just so luxury driven. Like, everything was more materialistic, so materialistic. And I hated that. That's like so far from who I am because of how I grew up, but also just because of my personality. Like, yeah, I like nice things. I love a good facial. I love a good massage. Don't get me wrong, but I don't need to be like super flashy with all my crap. Even if I did have nice things, like, I just wouldn't do that. It's just like not how I am. And again, like, not throwing shade at anybody that does do that. It just was hindering my confidence, let's say, right? Like, the comparisonitis sets in and you're like, well, how the hell am I supposed to start a business out of my mom's basement when some of these entrepreneurs are, living in these high rises in New York or have these beachfront houses? How the hell am I going to create content that people want to consume? And this is a question and a conversation that I have with legitimately all of my clients, you guys. So what happens when you start to create a business is that you quickly realize that the content is not about you. This was a lesson that I picked up on actually from listening to a podcast. So shout out podcasts. Project Me with Tiffany. I've been listening to her since I launched my business. Hopefully someday she'll be on this show. That would be so fun. Let's put that out to the universe. I was listening to her. She's telling me about how you really need to start to think about your ideal client and how that ideal client is a past version of you. So if you are currently living a lifestyle, but you're only 2 steps ahead of that ideal client, then wouldn't that lifestyle, even if it's like getting Starbucks every day, having the luxury to get Starbucks, right? Like, maybe that's just the small piece of content that I need to start to capitalize on. So instead of looking at these larger lifestyles or larger scale things that seemed so far off for me, I looked at these small things that my client and I could start to bond over, which was location, which was matcha Starbucks drinks, which was puppies, which was things that have absolutely nothing to do with Instagram, but do have a lot to do with my lifestyle, right? So now my clients, especially on my management side, those clients are a little bit further along, right? But our business has grown with them. So it's important to be able to also notice the clients that we had at the beginning were very different from the clients that we have now, because we've curated that ideal client every month, every day. We got down to it even more, slightly more, finding that person, finding that personality, right? And then when you start to share that part of your life on your Instagram stories, now this is like where it kind of becomes psychology, because social media is really like, psychology. Like, it's just understanding what the hell people want to consume, right? And what's so funny is when I really started to ask myself these questions, I started to think about reality TV. And I wasn't thinking about, like the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or something, or like Jersey Shore or something like that. But I was thinking about, what are they doing, right? Like, when you're watching them, what are they doing? Are they just kind of taking you throughout their day? Like, when you think about the Kardashians, it's constantly drama, drama, drama. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those small clips of like what they're doing. I remember I was watching one of these Real Housewives. She has a spin-off show. It's like Don't Be Tardy or something. Kim Bierman, she's like really cool and, just like totally a woman entrepreneur. Like I look up to all those people. I think that they're amazing. A lot of them have come from nothing and they've really built a life for themselves. And her daughters were driving to Chick-fil-A, and there was like a good 10 minutes of the show of them just driving to Chick-fil-A, trying different drinks, talking about their lives. And then I started to realize, like I'm clearly their ideal client because I love Chick-fil-A. I love trying different drinks. I love hearing about things that are going on in their lives, right? Because that's a lifestyle that hopefully one day I would be blessed enough to experience, right? Like that's the type of mentality when you get into business, you have to be able to take on. You have to be able to look at yourself as if you are being marketed to and figure out what those interests are, because you can learn from all of these businesses. You can learn from Amazon marketing. You can learn from Kim K Skims marketing. You can learn from watching YouTube, literally. Because you're understanding what people are interested in and you're learning more and more about your ideal client, because that ideal client is a past version of you. Like when I get on some of my coaching calls, my coach will ask, like, oh, have you guys seen like the end of We Crashed, or like, did you watch The Real Housewives last night, or have you been keeping up on XYZ show? And that's because she knows that everyone in the group, for the most part, probably watches those shows. Like it's just how your ideal client works. So when you are thinking about creating content, I don't want you guys to think about what you lack in your life, what you feel like you don't have enough to share. I want you to think about these small things that you do every day that your ideal client might also already do, right? But you're sharing these small pieces with them, which in return builds the trust over time because they start to really get to know you. Like the small moments in life are really what make us who we are, even though of course traumas and everything else can impact our lives, which are probably quote unquote bigger moments, right? But the small moments are really what bind us to one another, right? Like with one of my coaches, we were talking about like how unfortunate it is when you're younger that naturally we just want to connect, right? As young people. And sometimes that connection is coming out of like a negative exchange of conversation, right? Because all we want to do is connect with people. And when we feel like we don't connect, we feel left out, we feel lonely, we feel not good enough. And that's really this thought that's coming into your head is like, oh, well, clearly I'm not sitting up there with all of these influencers that have all of this money. So I'm going to sit myself out and let them run Instagram. Literally, that's what we're doing. When instead, truthfully, our ideal clients, they want to see our everyday. They want to see what's going on behind the scenes, whether you spilled your coffee before you got into work, or you're petting your dog in the morning, or you're creating breakfast for yourself. Like all of these small things make up who you are. And again, in return, help them understand more about you and more about your life. So when you take out that lack mindset, you're left with the abundance of knowledge and how much you as a consumer have to bring to the table by just observing. You don't even really need to hire coaches for this, of course, unless you want to move you there quickly, like, or a little bit faster, right? That's really what coaching is. Like, you guys have all the tools. Coaches are just showing you how to get there faster or asking you the right questions, making you get to that higher self quicker or that place end goal you want to be faster, right? They're just taking you through a fast track. But if you don't want to invest in coaching, or maybe that doesn't feel aligned for you, you have this knowledge. Like literally, you guys, I created all of these marketing plans by just observing and not observing other people in my market, just consuming content. Like it really, when you simplify it and you take all the noise out of your head that's telling you that you can't do this, it's telling you that you don't have enough, and you shut that voice up, you're able to see so much more. You're creating so much more space for your brain so that you can start to pick up on why that Apple ad is speaking to your soul, right? Like Apple mentality and marketing really cares about the everyday person because their goal is to have an Apple iPhone or an AirBook, right, in every single human's hand. That's literally their goal. So their goal is to convey emotion, right? And it's not really as much as selling that luxury lifestyle anymore. So you can see these brands, these high-level brands that pay for this marketing and work with all these high-level psychologists, they understand how much society is changing now. People don't want to see only this like lavish lifestyle. Of course, sometimes we do. It's fun, it's glitz, it's glamour, it's exciting, it's something to look forward to, hopefully, for all of us, right? But it's also at times too overdone, right? Like there's a moment when you're consuming this luxury lifestyle content where it's too far, right? It's a little bit too flashy. And what I like to do with my clients is find that balance because our content is really about our client and not about us. It's not really about feeding our ego. It's about selling, right? So it's about that business mindset rather than fulfilling an ego opportunity. So when we get clear on that and we're able to consume as if we are literally educating ourselves on how to market, you will learn so much more. And getting back to this ideal of the ideal client, you really have all of these answers already. So don't be, spinning your wheels constantly and going over all of these questions in your head. Ground yourself, get back to you. You have all the answers because you are that past version of you you were that past version of you at some point, right? So just take your brain, put yourself back in that place, even though it can be hard, right? And think about what you wanted, what you were asking for, what you were hoping to call into your life, and create content around that. Now, another huge thing, if you currently have clients, that's really for like when you're first building your business. That was the whole spiel on when you're first building your business. You maybe have no clients at all. You have no one to depend on, no one to ask questions to. Flash forward to when you do have a business, right? Where you're like maybe a business that's further along, and you have all of these clients. Now, your clients, you can actually go to and ask questions, right? Every time you meet with them and they're saying something to you, that's literally the universe and like the human psyche all collective, bringing this question back up so that you can address it to your clientele for the masses. So when we first get on our content calls with our clients, we will go through what topics did their clients continue to bring up to them when they were in the treatment room, or when they were giving them, a Reiki session. What were those questions that kept coming up? What are the things that keep coming back around from your clients repeatedly? That's literally the perfect type of content that you want to start to create. So if you really need to get down to the nitty-gritty, maybe you don't talk to your clients that much, I would think about sending out some sort of questionnaire via your mailing list. Putting up Instagram polls isn't always as successful. You can always give that a go, right? And then really just maybe connecting with some of those clients one-on-one, because the one-on-one conversations is really when you can get down to those pain points and how they're feeling. Like, I knew that you guys needed to hear this today because I hear this constantly from my clients. That's how I create a lot of my content. So it's not just coming out of anywhere, right? Like, these are the conversations that we have. These are the things that we talk about, trends, all of that, right? And I try to include that in our content when I feel it's relative. And that's really where it also gets back to trusting your intuition and really connecting back to that inner voice that's guiding you instead of pulling you in that lack mindset. To just give you guys a quick heads up. So I know I mentioned coaching earlier and fast tracking. We will be launching a course that's going to be called Intuitive Instagram, creating content from a heart-centered place for your business Instagram account. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this course, which we will be doing like a mastermind or a masterclass before for free, so I'll tell you guys all about that as well. We're probably about 2 to 3 months out from launching this course. I want to make sure it's perfect for you guys. And the reason why I picked Intuitive Instagram is because I know how many of you don't want to just talk about the bullshit that you constantly hear people in your space talking about, right? Like, you guys actually want to create content that feels super in alignment for you, but how do you do that and also sell? Like, how do you do that and also create relationships without totally like word vomiting on everyone, right? Like, because that's the reality of what we do at times. So that is what this course is all about, how to really identify some of these problems, get back to following your intuition. I'm going to be hopefully bringing in, cross your fingers, a few guest speakers to the course as well. Tons of more information will be coming your guys' way, but if you're interested in hearing more, definitely sign up for that newsletter that I mentioned in the beginning below through our link, because that will be coming out like right once the course is ready and we're doing the free masterclass. That way you'll get all the emails for everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you were feeling like you have nowhere to pull content from, hopefully this alleviated some of that stress. And, if not, send me a DM. Like, let's connect. Let's figure this shit out for you guys, because sometimes it's just a quick conversation and it gets you out of that writing block and you can get back to really creating content that feels good for you, especially if you've been there before and maybe you're just in a slump, right? Because that has totally happened to me. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you enter your email into the newsletter box below if that feels aligned for you. And of course, leave us a review if, again, it feels aligned for you, and send me a screenshot and I will add you guys to our new giveaway. So thank you guys so much for your time, and I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for listening to The End in Mind. I would like to remind you all, if you haven't yet reached out to me on Instagram, we are at Meraki_media_management. It will be in our show notes as well. If you would like to reach out to me, we always offer free coaching through Instagram based around our Instagram training and our business Instagram practices. If you need any type of support, please do not hesitate to reach out to me there. And we also offer several different types of consulting and training packages if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth tips. So thank you all for listening in, and of course, I want you all to keep the end in mind as you continue with your day and or work week. Have a great week, and I will see you all next time.